I'm glad I'm at the Rock. All right, our last speaker this morning in the Magic and Power of the Steps is Tom M. from Kennesaw, Georgia.
I'm 40 years past my expiration date.
Woo. How y'all doing? I'm Tom. I'm a recovered alcoholic. My sobriety date's March 6, 1986. There's the cart guy calling me again. I'll be driving the cart at probably 10 o'clock, taking y'all back to the rooms and stuff. They trust me to drive, you know. I've got ADOS, excuse me if I'm all over the place, but that's attention deficit. Oh, squirrel. You know, I was going to write a couple of bullet points on the back of a card so I could focus, because it's only 20 minutes. And I didn't set my timer, so I guess I get 21. But I was going to put some bullet points on the card so I could focus, and I didn't have a pen. So that makes me think of, this guy picked up a chip, and he goes, I haven't found it necessary to take a drink in 12 years. And somebody goes, I saw you drinking 3 months ago, you asshole. And he goes, yeah, but it wasn't necessary. So. But the pen thing makes me think, Dr. Bob is a proctologist now. And rumor has it, when he was still drinking, he went to this place to get his oil changed in his car. And when he walked up to the counter to pay for it, he reached in his pocket for a pen and pulled out a rectal thermometer. He goes, oh my God. They said, what's wrong? He goes, some asshole's got my pen. Y'all listen, those jokes aren't for you, they're for me, so I can loosen up. Because I told my story in a treatment center my buddy used to work at, and everybody was medicated, and I dropped my best 2 jokes on them, and they sat there like... And the one guy laughed so hard he fell out of his chair twice, and I was like, I told my story to that guy. So... I was talking to a guy last night, and he goes, well, how did you get here at 23? I'm like, well, alcohol is a slow, sure killer, and it'll do the job, but I got one word for you, drugs. I'm going to date myself. I respect AA and the singleness of purpose, but it's part of my story, so a big part of my story. There was a commercial in like the 70s when I was a kid. It was the Life cereal commercial, this kid, Mikey. And it was, Mikey likes it. So when a new drug came out, they were like, let's give it to Tom and see if Tom likes it, So, in the book it says, the remonstrances of my friends terminated in a row, and I became a lone wolf. Row is short for rowdy. If you put in the definition of those words, literally, the protests, the fights, the arguments of the protests of my friends ended in a fight, and I became a lone wolf. Now, in the beginning, I surrounded myself with people that were doing all the stuff I was doing. Excuse me, but at the end, they were like, dude, I think you're an alcoholic and a psycho. I'm like, you just called me a psycho? I knew about the alcohol part, but that's a big part of my story, too, mental issues. I just got to tell you, man, the God of my understanding has done for me since March the 6th of 2022. I went through a religious experience that I won't go into detail here, but I'll talk about it all day in the parking lot, that changed my life immediately and drastically. I've got people walking up to me going, you've never been better. What kind of medication are you on? And I go, well, it's this Jewish carpenter guy, There's one who has all power, that one is God. May you find him now. In the beginning, Bill wrote, you must find him now. And he sent off the text, the manuscript to like 400 doctors, priests, lawyers, and psychiatrists, and they combed through it. And this one guy, I think I know his name, but this one guy said, look, quit saying you and your. Make it inclusive. Invite people. Talk about we and ours. And it changed the language of the big book. God spoke to Bill Wilson through that one guy. And he speaks, this is my tribe right here, man. This is my family of choice. This is where I come when nothing else works, man. I just got to tell you, if you're sober long enough, you might wake up one day and go, is this all there is? It happens to a lot of people, and it happened to me. And at 33 years of sobriety, I wasn't a good steward of the things I owned. I had a couple toys and a nice house, and my focus was on those things. I helped people, but my focus was on things. And when I lost those things, I lost my way. I didn't want to drink. I wanted to blow my brains out. And you know what? There were people talking to a couple of my sponsees going, look, Tom's not coming back this time. You need to run. They underestimated the power of the God I follow. Because we're good at getting up and dusting our pants off and continuing. My only regret was during Father's Day was really emotional for me that my dad couldn't see there's been more progress in my life in the last 18 months than in the first 36 years. I've been sober 37 years, And I got with a guy, he specializes in taking old timers back through the step process that wake up one day and say, oh, this is all there is, and they're dismayed. And I'm happy to tell you that the growth and the opportunity is unlimited. This is never all it is. I can't define this thing with finite words. It's infinite. And this guy got me focused back on step 10 and my not only my morning routine, but my daily routine. What have I done through the day? Because I got on my knees with guys doing the third step prayer, and I did mine with my sponsor at NABA hand in hand on the floor in the back room. And I got to tell you, I didn't feel the power. I felt embarrassed. But I carried on. It was enough to get me over the hump and to the next step. But I've gotten on my knees with guys and had firsthand experience with their white light direct experiences. I was in a room with a guy, and we talked for about 20 minutes. He was a straight up alcoholic, no objection. I pointed out the bedevilments, how his life was unmanageable. We moved on to step 2. We got down on our knees to do step 3. And in the process of step 3, there was a light and a power and a presence in that room. I saw and felt it. This newcomer saw and felt it. And my sponsee saw and felt it. And he got up off his knees a different man. I got to witness that. And then he turned to me and said, he said, I've been in and out of AA 10 and a half years. How come I've never heard this before? I'm like, my God, what are we telling people? Because I just brought him a straight message out of the big book. And somebody came to me, and I never intended to sponsor women. And one was walking outside the clubhouse I go to one day, and she says, so-and-so's going to take me through the book. And I know this guy to be a predator, and he got run off for that. And I said, no, he's not. I am. And I took her through the book, and all I did was teach her about Alcoholics Anonymous. After 20 years in and out of the program, she's got about 3, killing it, sponsoring people, building a name in the business side of it. That's not me, man. That is God. That's God at work. And he's always been there. All I had to do was wake up. When I got here, I'd have said, hey, I'm a believer, but actually, according to Joe and Charlie, I was an agnostic. I believed in God, but I never learned in the church I was raised in. And I'm not going to bash them. It was a good experience for me. I never learned in that church. I believed in God, but I did not know how to access that power. I didn't think I was worthy of that. My sponsor said, where are you at with the God thing? I said, there's 2 things I know. There is one, and he's out to get me. And he said, that's cool. There's two things you need to know. There is one and you're not it. And that was enough. And I took what I heard in the rooms, not all of it, but if I heard something quite a few times, I took it as the truth. And I'm a big book guy, and thumbers kind of hate this, but, right there in the 12 and 12, Bill said you can use the group in the beginning because here is a group of men who did together what I could not do alone, so it's certainly a power greater than me. And one of the first questions in the second step, do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe, that there is a power greater than me? It's not even asking me to believe in it yet, just that there is one. Who can't say there's something greater than me? I didn't create all this stuff. And Bill brings up concepts like spirit of the universe, creative intelligence, father of light, whatever you want. But, God is alluded to, God or capital H-I-M, like 281 times in the book. So there's something to it. But I'm not here to force my beliefs on you. I'm just here to share my experience. When I introduce myself as a recovered alcoholic, that doesn't mean I'm cured. It explains that on page 85. And people get their pants in a wad. And I was in a meeting in Kennesaw, and this guy goes, he's got 30 years. And I said, I'm Tom, I'm a recovered alcoholic. And he looks at his wife and goes, he's special. I said, well, that's kind of sad. He goes, what do you mean? I said, it's in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's kind of sad that makes me special. When I come out of this book, it was written so the message wouldn't get watered down and diluted. When I say I'm recovered, it means I've recovered mentally, physically, and spiritually. Page 64 says, when the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. So it means I've been restored to health. I no longer have the obsession that makes me take the first drink. I will always have the allergy. Somebody alluded to it maybe last night. If I don't ever take Ricky alluded to it last night. Good job. If I don't ever take the first one, I don't ever have to deal with the allergy. What am I left with? The obsession and the spiritual malady. And thank you for saying 3-part. I get some flack on that. A lot of people like the 2-part. But that spiritual malady, that fed my obsession. That drove me to take the first one. And once I took the first one, you know what happens. The allergy takes over and I'm off to the races. I can't tell you how and when I'm going to stop. What's going to happen. To me, it's a miracle that I'm here, and that word's used a lot in the book, and I don't take it lightly. Bill said, here's sat a miracle directly across the kitchen table. This guy he grew up with was nothing like the man he grew up with. When he met him at the door, here stood a man, fresh-skinned and glowing. There was something about his eyes. When I was in treatment, and the first meeting came in, I thought I was in a government protection place to protect me from all the gangsters that were out to get me. And they were all in here. The problem centers in the mind. I understand that. So the first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous came in, and this guy walked in. He was well-dressed. He was well-spoken. He was confident but not arrogant. I went, that guy's got peace. He's nothing like me. But his message had depth and weight. He shared his experience. I went, that guy was just like me. Call it out. I can't see it. Thank you. I've lived long enough to go half blind, and I'm driving the cart after this, so beware. I'll be driving what do they call it? Driving while blind, isn't there a song about that? But, now I saw a squirrel and got lost. It was a good story, too. Anyway, so many things have happened that I never saw coming. And all I have to do is trust God, clean house, and help others. You know, I didn't know Dr. Bob wrote that, but I ordered a big book and had it put on the back, and apparently Dr. Bob said that in 1937, and he believed in keeping it really simple. I do too, guys. I used to go to a fellowship that they work the steps quickly like we do. Now they're telling people like, oh, a step a year, and you don't need to sponsor anybody till you got 5. And I'm like, how do you get to 5? Our book has a couple of questions on the first step. That workbook has 71. I like the big book because it's a spiritual exercise. It presents a problem and it takes you straight to the solution. A lot of the other books that are supplements or just plain other books, to me they're intellectual exercises and they're appealing. I like some of the stuff. But my intellect never kept me sober. So my sponsor said, your job's to get them to God of their understanding, whatever they want, you know. Get them through the step process. It says we had no effective mental power against the first drink. That defense must come from a higher power. I need to get them there. I went years, nobody I sponsored got sober. And I'd be like, he didn't want it, or he didn't try, or... No, I have to own that. I'm responsible for the message I carry. And I have to ask guys, are we letting people down? Because Bill Wilson, when asked that, he said, our chief responsibility to the newcomer is an adequate presentation of the program. So I have to look in the mirror and say, am I presenting an adequate presentation of the program? Am I talking about spiritual principles here and lifting skirts in the parking lot? You know, I gotta tell on myself, man, you know. When I was 23 at Nabon Triangle Club, I did what us newcomers do, right? So I was talking to somebody, he goes, so you're a guy at How Place. You keep your eye on guys and you watch out for these women. He goes, but I know you. He goes, when you were new, you were doing that kind of stuff. Don't you feel like a hypocrite? And I went, not at all. He goes, why not? I said, because some of those people I may never see again may not even know their names. How do I make amends to them? I stand up for women today. Everybody deserves a safe place to get sober, right? Man, I'm about to talk down. How many minutes I got left now, huh? 1 minute. And he did it with that finger. That is really cool. I just got to tell you, man, I am excited. I love life. And people ask me if it gets better. It just gets better and better. And how much better it can get is just unlimited. I hope y'all got something out of this. And man, I love y'all. And thank you for the opportunity to serve. I can never get enough of this.
Okay, if you're not convinced there's magic and power in the steps, hang around a while longer or keep coming back, right? Bill, Chris, come back up if you will. There you go. The Atlanta Men's Workshop honors the people that sacrifice their time, give their time, with a little present for your service, guys. And we thank you very much. Bill? And Chris? And Tom, thank you very much, guys. Give them a hand.